Back in Durham, North Carolina, where I went to high school, my drama teacher, Hope Hines, gave me a book called Respect for Acting by Uta Hagen. As soon as I started to read this book, a new way of looking at acting began to open up for me. Things like, this is freaking hard work. I read things like, the learning process of acting is never over. Ethics versus hard work. The point of view about the world in which you live in. I was exhausted, and this was just the introduction. But I was also moved. I was excited about the possibilities. And then I read, in a place, and the only place where I feel any sort of degree of fulfillment is at HB Studio, where I am both a teacher and a student. HB Studio. I saw it flashing in front of me, neon lights. That's where I'm going as soon as I get out of here. But thanks to Uta Hagen's Respect for Acting, the introduction of Respect for Acting, I moved to New York City not only to be an actor. I wanted to live the life of an actor. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to go to coffee shops and observe strangers and write about them in my journals. I wanted to eat a bagel with cream cheese and a big black cup of coffee. I wanted to talk to eclectic strangers in the parks and talk about the deep meanings of life, maybe fall in love for a hot second and never see them again. This is right before the social media era. And I also wanted to find my own little abode, a place where I can do my own solitary work about the craft and take classes at HB Studio. And I did. And when I first got to HB Studio, I studied with Amy Wright, and I took classes with Karen Ludwig, and I worked on my diction and my accent with the great Ruth Berkowitz and Austin Pendleton. And one of the amazing things about Austin's class is that he tells you all these stories and anecdotes, right? He tells you about what the weather was like when such a play opened off or on Broadway. He's like an encyclopedia of theater, the American theater. I was in acting paradise, too afraid to get on stage and do a scene, but I was good at observing. I would spend hours at the Strand bookstore looking for plays and looking at the actors in those plays, And I started to find out about theater companies like The Labyrinth, where actors looked like me. And Philip Seymour Hoffman, who didn't look like me, but I loved his work, And then, in less than a year, I got an agent. I couldn't believe it. And then I booked my first guest star on Law & Order. Julio Rodriguez, this young Latino immigrant who gets accused of murdering a lady and gets deported. And then my second guest starred on Law & Order, Criminal Intent, as Hector Mendoza, another young Latino, but this one does kill a lady and goes to prison for the rest of his life. And I was making money. And, I was paying the 10% to my agent, and he felt great. I started to get attention from all the kids back home. And I'm too busy now to come to HB Studio. I'm waiting for the next big audition. And days go by and months go by and I'm waiting by the phone and nothing. See, nobody tells you about this times in between, when you're just floating across space, waiting to land somewhere. Fast forward to a few years later. I'm living in an apartment that looks like the 1960s. I get fired from all the restaurant jobs I tried to get. I get a temp gig passing out flyers in the streets in the middle of winter. And my mother and sister moved in with me. I haven't acted in a very long time. I haven't been to HB Studio in a long time. I've been on survival mode, But then one day I'm left with a little extra cash. It's not really extra because I know that I can or I should use it for next month's rent or to get a couple of extra bags of rice or cans of beans in case of emergency. But for some reason I think respect for acting. And I furiously run to the train And I hop at the train all the way up in Washington Heights, and I'm taking the A train all the way here. And I'm in the train asking for a sign for somewhere from the acting gods to send me some kind of out of this world text message to let me know that I'm doing the right thing, with this money. But nothing happens. And I walk from 14th Street all the way here, and I get to the front of the building, hesitating to come in. It's almost like I'm trying to give myself permission to go back to that place of possibilities, And I come in and slowly start walking up the stairs, remembering the history of this place. I start thinking about Uta Hagen's physical destination exercises and all the people I admired who have come into the same door and walk up the same set of stairs. And I start thinking about working with a group of actors and how great it feels when you hit a moment, It almost feels like you're a surfer, that you catch a wave, you're riding that wave and then you fall and then you got to get back up again to get more air and do it all over again. And I get up to the office and I sit down and the person at the office tells me that I have to renew my student ID. And I'm like, shit, that's an extra, I don't know, $10, $20. How much is it right now, the student ID? And I pay it. And I walk out of the building with my head down. I kind of feel ashamed for using this money for another acting class. And still no sign from anywhere. I get to the corner and I panic. I think I have to go back and get that money back. I start thinking about how I'm gonna have to kidnap somebody at the office if they don't want to give me my cash back, And I quickly turn around and right across the street, wearing khaki shorts, sandals, a baseball cap, holding a bag of potato chips, is Philip Seymour Hoffman. I've only seen it in movies. I freeze, and for a moment, it feels like everyone is vanished from the city and it's just me and Philip experiencing this magical moment. He puts another potato chip in his mouth, turns around and keeps walking. And I stayed there, trying to feel this moment. And I think this is that sign I was waiting for. This is my celestial text message from the acting gods. Thank you.